All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 704 once again for episode 270 of the 815 Exchange. And well, Fraud Watch overloaded. All right, Fraud Watch has officially overloaded. Preseason number 1 and preseason number 2 are no longer ranked. We're going to talk about that in college football. Poatan, I once called the most dangerous man alive, and he once again proved it. We'll talk about that. To kick us off, all right, UFC 220. Entertainment. I watched The Smashing Machine. We've got music. We've got 2 great superhero TV shows currently on. We've got a week in the NFL in which I went to a game. And of course, we've got the MLB playoffs, the WNBA playoffs, the NASCAR playoffs, and F1 to talk about all of that later on throughout. So, full slate today. So everybody get comfy, get cozy, get some food or drink wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening. Get cozy. All right, get cozy, get ready, because we got a doozy, as they say. But as always, remember to like, share, and subscribe. You guys are enjoying the content, and as always, all right, as always, everything you're looking for in this life can be found in my description. Okay, timestamps in my description. Social media in the description. All right, timestamps also embedded in the video. Of course, social media is in the outro. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we got things to attend to in the UFC. The fight game is first. And of course, we starting off with what was the headliner, the rematch. All right, Magomed Ankalaev taking on Alex Pereira for the crown at 205, the light heavyweight championship of the world. Who was going to come out on top? Of course, Ankalaev came out on top in a surprise result and beat Alex for the title all those months ago, but Alex wanted the run back, and he got it. And well, Poatan wasted no time. He said he was injured. He said he wasn't feeling well last time, and honestly, it looked like it. It looked like it. Alex did not care. He didn't care about the ground game. He wasn't going to be doing a bunch of, defending takedowns this time. He was coming to decimate. He looked like the Terminator. We got a billion nicknames for this man. Maybe we need to call him the Terminator. He looked like the Terminator. He looked completely unfazed by anything Ankalaev did. He was in there on a mission, and he took the man out. I've said Alex would have been a great hitman. And this was a great example of him being a great hitman. He went in and just destroyed Ankalaev. Just immediately charges him, throwing combinations. Eventually that right slips through. Not the left of death, but this time a right. Puts Ankalaev down, and that is all she wrote. He hit a signature Sally, did the whole 9, Chama chants throughout, and Alex Pereira is back on top. Okay? Most dangerous man in the world. Smoked him. Absolutely smoked him. No other way to put it. Absolutely smoked him. And of course, it's very interesting currently at 205, which we'll talk about a little bit later. With the people around the ring, Jury with an all-time great hater moment where he was literally in tears at seeing another man get knocked out. It was remarkable. It was truly remarkable. All right, I have not seen hating like that in generations. All right, generations. That was generational hating from Jerry to cry at another man getting knocked out. Not that you knocking him out, but watching another man live after you knocked another man out, watching him cry. That was generational. But yeah, Poatan back on top. He's that guy. All right, simply put, he is that guy. Merab is still the machine. All right, Corey Sandhagen was game. He actually took the first round of this fight. But then Merab dropped him and then nearly submitted him. And that was it. All right, that was it. All right, people can say what they want about Merab's fighting style, by the way. I didn't know this was a thing. But Merab is different from your average grappler or wrestler, right? He does all of that. He takes you down a million times and he dominates. He mauls these opponents, but he mauls them. He doesn't sit there and he hugs you or just takes top position and just, keeps it and that he outpoints you. He's going to beat the brakes off of you. And that is what he does. And that is what he did to Corey Sandhagen. A very game, once again, like I said, Sandman, but it didn't matter. The machine was rolling. Absolutely rolling. It was a dominant victory yet again from Merab, and that's why he's near the top of the pound-for-pound list. Again, and it's Murder's Row in that division at 135 at Bantam, and I don't know who's taking it off him. That's the crazy thing. I don't know who's unseating Merab, but he does take out the Sandman in a dominant performance yet again. Like we said earlier, we were talking about Alex. All right, a lot of stuff going on at 205 right now. Carlos Olberg is maybe the number 1 contender. Jiri and Khalil Roundtree was essentially a number 1 contender's match as well. And Khalil looked good. He looked so good. He won the first 2 rounds of his fight. He was piecing up Jerry. Jerry was frustrated. He was having leg issues. He was landing. He looked like he had this fight in the bag. And then Jerry Proshka happened. Jerry happened. Simply put, Jerry happened. It was the most Jerry way to win this fight. It was like round 3. He was like, all right, I understand it now. I'm not losing. And that's it. That's it. That's just it for this fight. I'm not losing. I don't care anymore. You're not going to knock me out because my chin is made out of vibranium unless your name is Alex Pereira. That's it. All right? It's it. It's done. And he just started eating everything and charging Khalil. And eventually Khalil had gassed himself out by how many times he had landed, but not knocked out because once again, Jerry's chin is made of vibranium. And eventually Jerry caught Khalil enough and Khalil was out tired. And then he got hit with the left that put him down. It was a wild visual for that close-up of him knocked out, reeling, and to see how badly his eye and the blood, to see how badly he had gotten beat up after how dominant he was in the first 2 rounds. It was crazy. Absolutely crazy. And pure chaos. But Jerry wouldn't have it any other way. The Samurai would not have it any other way. What a night for Jerry. Generational hating, an insane comeback performance, knockout. Just absolutely obscene. He might be the #1 contender. I don't think he's beating Poatan because I think he's just too hittable and Poatan sleeps him yet again. But we will see. I think they should feed Olberg to Poatan and we see what happens from there. Poatan was going to call out John Jones, but of course, rest in peace to Arthur Jones. Passed the day before, so he paid his respects instead. So we'll see, but it was a very good UFC 320. What a banger those last 2 fights, though. What a banger those were. Let's talk about CFB, baby. Let's talk about it. Whew. Hey, Drew, come back on down. Hey, we talked about it last week. I should post this clip on TikTok. Drew, come on back down, buddy. Come back. Come back here. You are a fraud. What did I say? What did I say? What did I say about Drew Alar and Penn State? They ain't going nowhere. They're not getting over the hump because Alar is not the guy. And Alar, the idea of him sounds good. He looks the part. Great. He ain't that guy. And he confirmed it fully when they lost against one of the worst Power 4 teams in America. Some might have said UCLA was the worst. They had Nico looking like a 5-star again. He had 294 yards, 5 touchdowns, 166 passing and 2. He also had 128 and a hat trick rushing. It was the best performances of Nico's career. Easy. UCLA is out with that. It has an interim head coach, was 0-4 in a very decently empty Rose Bowl, which is part of the course for UCLA. Penn State, preseason #2 team, and they got walloped, 42-37. Tried to make a comeback at the end, but it was too little, too late, and you did not have the guys to make the plays. And as much as we can rag on Alar about this and what happened at the end and his failures, I think the more damning thing here for Penn State is the defense. You gave up 42 points to UCLA. You made Nico look like the superstar he was supposed to be. That is the more damning thing, in my opinion. And that is why I have no problem with them being unranked after this week. These 2 losses and this one to UCLA, you don't deserve it. You were up 27-7, UCLA was, at halftime. You were down 27-7 to UCLA at half. I was in disbelief. And I think a lot of Penn State fans, you were also in disbelief. It was disgusting, all right? Absolutely disgusting, but a career day for Nico, and the Bruins get their first win of the season, and Penn State is in free fall. James Franklin, your time is coming, my boy. Your little career might just be over. We're the Black Boy Max. Oh boy, Texas. Oh boy, we're not done with the fraudulent quarterbacks and the quarterbacks that were supposed to be stars finally looking like stars. DJ Lagway, come back on down. All right, good stuff for you this week. 21 for 28, 298 and 2 touchdowns. All right. However, the one who stole the show here for the Florida Gators and the one reason why the Texas Longhorns did not make it out of the swamp, amongst many other reasons, but the biggest reason was Dallas Wilson. We're going to talk about a lot of great freshman receivers in the state of Florida this week. A lot of them, especially in the last game that we featured. But Dallas Wilson is that guy. Him and Baby Jesus. They are them. But Dallas Wilson, we waited. We heard. I knew because I've been playing Florida as my dynasty, and Dallas went crazy. Him and VB3. All right, we talked about this when Vernell went over and went off in that game against I think the first game Florida played. But Dallas is him. 6 receptions, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns for the freshman. He looked like a man-child. That one touchdown where he was just literally dragging defensive backs off his shoulders, off his legs to score. I was like, yeah, no, he's one of them. He is one of them. Dallas Wilson is a problem. Jaden Ball, also a problem. 107 yards, 1 touchdown in this game. He was running wild all over Texas, and Texas was supposed to have an elite defense. They didn't look the part on Saturday. 6 sacks total from that Florida defense. And that was a big reason. As much as I'm about to get on Arch, again, similar to Penn State here, the most damning thing in my opinion was the Texas offensive line. There was no protection. The protection was pitiful. Now, Arch could have gotten the ball out earlier and done all those things, but for what was supposed to be an at minimum halfway decent offensive line, they sucked. Now, Florida's got a defense. Don't get me wrong. They got a great defensive line, though they're a little bit beat up currently, I would like to add. But they've got a good defense. But Texas's offensive line sucks. They suck. I'm not gonna mince words here. They suck. They got 5 bums, it looks like, right now, and one of them was supposed to be a first rounder, which I'm trying to see where that came from, because he has not looked like that at all, Mr. Banks. So yeah, no, it's been pitiful. Pitiful protection-wise in offense, and that doesn't make life easier for Arch, who threw 2 interceptions in this game. He's not that guy. All right, simply put, we said this a couple weeks ago, but Arch is not that guy. He's a fraud. He's a fraud. He's a man in the name only. Okay? That's it. All right. Until proven otherwise, he's a man in the name only. He's a solid athlete who can run it a little bit, but he cannot throw to save his life. He sucks. All right. He sucks. He absolutely sucks. I don't know how he regressed so fast from last year to this year. And I know people will be like, oh, he didn't play anybody. This is not the same player we even saw in those games last year. It's not. He's gotten worse. Somehow, some way, he has gotten worse. He has regressed into his starting year, and he's not that guy. Iron is holding Texas back, and now they are unranked. Longhorns don't survive in the swamp, and neither do Mannings. Bama and Vandy was one of the headlining games of the week, if not the headlining game of the week. Of course, the big conversation about Diego Pavia. Could he do it back-to-back? Johnny Manziel was in attendance. Pavia talked a big game, per usual, and Bama showed up. All right, and Bama showed up. 30-14, they get the win over Vandy. Ty Simpson still looks legit. 340 and 2 touchdowns. 1 pick. Jam Miller had a big game here. 136 and a touchdown. I do want to say, despite all this great play from Jam and from Ty, the Bama receivers just were not Bama receivering this week. I'm very concerned about Ryan Williams. I'm not going to lie to you. He can still pop for a play and do, the Hollywood thing every now and then, but he is not. Again, I'm ready to strip the whole it's JJ and Jeremiah and Kent. I'm ready to take Ryan off of it. He don't look ready. So many drops this year. And it continued in this game. He wasn't the only one. Horton, Bernard did not have their best games either. So, despite that, Bama was just too good. All right, defensively, they were too good. Caused enough havoc for Pavia to not thrive in that situation. They came to play. They looked motivated, which is, a complete 180 from what we were talking about them against Florida State to start this season. They look like a much better team already. So we'll see. Maybe they figured it out. Maybe DeBoer's got it going here for Bama. We'll see, but this is a very, very big win, I think, against Vandy, and they do get it done. Cincy upsets Iowa State here, 38-30. Prior. 111 and 2 touchdowns. He ran wild. All right, the boy ran wild. Jay Galladay went off on defense. He had 12 tackles, 1 sack, 1 TFL, 1 PD, 1 in literally every other stat. It was slightly absurd. But, Iowa State. So many chances to get it done. It felt like that game that we always have every single year with these Matt Campbell Iowa State teams where it's like, oh, wait, they could break into the top 10. Maybe they are a playoff contender. Maybe they are a contender, and they lose it. It's the letdown game. This was the letdown game. They have it every single year, and here it was. All right, here it was. Rocco had 4 touchdowns. It didn't matter. Eskridden had 8 receptions, 105 and a touchdown. It didn't matter. All right, Iowa State was going to do everything in their power to lose this game. They got too close. I don't know to what they felt like. You know, the lights got a little too bright. It was time to come back down to earth, too close to the sun, whatever you want to call it. But since he did it, 38-30, they get it done. Louisville. And the Miller Moss experiment needs to be done. Okay? It needs to be done. But y'all do take UVA to overtime here. But it ain't enough. All right, Jamari Taylor, a great play design by Tony Elliott, which sounds crazy to say. After we slandered him, and justifiably so, for his duties at Clemson, that led to him getting, well, I guess he took the job, but, you know, you wasted Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne. You were not that guy. All right, you were not that guy. And he was not that good his first 2 years at UVA, but they figured something out. All right, something they have figured out this year because they are ranked and they are winning and they are finding ways to win games. All right, and they do it here yet again. Shout out to my former high school teammate Donovan Platt for setting the tone with that fumble return for a touchdown to kick off this game. And like I said, Jamari Taylor gets it done in OT. Cam Robinson with the pick 6. Listen, they were scored every type of way you can. All right. Once again, UVA just finding ways to win. That is a hallmark of a good team. I gotta say, finding ways to win, despite adversities, despite circumstance, find a way. And the Cavs, I mean, they're doing it. All right. The Virginia Cavaliers are finding ways to win here in 2025, and they keep it going here. Chris Bell, though, is still that guy. 12 receptions, 170 and 2 touchdowns for one of the most underrated receivers, in my opinion, in the country. Let's talk about the state championship. Miami and Florida State. All right, this was the big one, the nightcap. And the score ended up being a little bit closer than it really was. All right, Florida State had a nice little fourth quarter comeback, but unfortunately they forgot how to play football for the first 3 quarters. And they do lose here to Miami, who just may be the best team in the country. 28-22. Carson Beck, I'm singing Carson Beck's praises. You know how crazy this is? We cooked him last year and the year before, I believe. Cooked Carson Beck on the show. I am singing his praises. He's QB1. He is QB1 in the country right now. 241 and 4 touchdowns for Carson Beck in this game. It was a brilliant decision of his, or whoever made that decision for him, if it wasn't him, to go to Miami and to come back for another year and not go to the draft, because he might go number 1 overall now. All right, Beck is the guy, okay? I have nothing bad to say about him. He is that guy. And, of course, his receiving corps has been cooking. None more so than the freshman reclass, should be a senior in high school right now. Baby Jesus, the South Florida legend, the 305 Prince, Malachi Tony is one of them. He is one of them. He really had 3 touchdowns in this game. One of them got called back for a holding. 7 receptions, 107, and 2 touchdowns for Malachi. He is a monster. He is worth every bit of the hype. Every bit. Same way we were talking about Dallas Wilson for Florida earlier. Same here with Baby Jesus. All right? Well-deserving of the nickname. He is that guy. He is that guy. He's always open. He runs great routes. He makes big plays happen. He is one of the premier big playmakers in the entire country. 5 games in, 6 games in to whatever it is, into his freshman year. At just turned 18. Special talent. CJ Daniels has been cooking too. He had 578 and 2 touchdowns. Of course, he had the long-lived Kyron Lacey. That is a terrible situation, by the way, with him turning out to be completely innocent. And, of course, what transpired. So, yeah, shout out to CJ for that tribute. Tommy had 300-plus total, but did have 2 interceptions. You have the good Tommy in this. You have the bad Tommy in this. And Florida State, like I said, waited too late to get going, and Miami gets it done. It's all about the U. They're back, and it's real this time. Back for real. And to end this off very quickly, Clemson put hands on UNC. No surprises here. And Maryland, how did you choke that game against Washington? All right, that brings me to entertainment. All right, it brings us to ENT. Starting off, I did go watch a movie this week when I was back in the borough. The Smashing Machine dropped, of course. The story of Mark Kerr. And I gotta say, Benny killed it. Benny killed it. It was a good movie. I would give it 4 stars out of 5. It wasn't like this all-time great movie though. I'm not gonna guess it that much. But it was a solid film. It was a solid film chronicling a time in the life and a good story about beating addiction and kind of overcoming that. So yeah. Good little movie there. Benny. But yeah, Dwayne did his thing. All right, he did a good job. All right, he did a very good job. All right, so all of the kudos that are going to Dwayne Johnson, to The Rock, well deserved. Emily Blunt was great as well. Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna lie. Emily Blunt was I mean, not that she's not a baddie normally, but she was a baddie in this movie. My goodness, as Dawn, she was woo woo. All right, she was great in this movie though. All right, she was great. Ryan Bader, by the way, honestly, I want to give him some credit for playing Mark Coleman. It was just as much, honestly, a Mark Coleman movie as it was Kerr and Dawn and all of their like relationships. Like Bader did a really good job as Coleman. All right, a really, really good job. But yeah, very solid movie. Smash Machine gets my cosign. Jinvi, all right, continues to put out peak. Cypher and Sister Sage, which honestly completely makes sense. All right, completely makes sense. We all but confirmed in that sex scene as well that Cypher is just a meat puppet for his father, Thomas Godolkin. But yeah, we'll see if that gets confirmed permanently at a certain point in time. But I feel pretty confident in that. The kids get sent back to Elmira, of course, here. But it was deliberate. All right, it was all deliberate by Cypher, and yeah, they go to different leads, I think, to all kind of test. Again, I'm trying to figure out Cypher's motives here. I think he really is, in a way, trying to help the kids, or help the kids in a way that ends up helping himself. I'm not sure what him and Sage's, in-game is here yet. But I got a couple theories circulating. We'll see what happens, so I'm going to let it play out. But yeah, it's cool to see the kids get tested. Marie, as everybody predicted, can kill people, so more than just a bloodbender. Probably just more of like a molecular, like a biokinetic in a way. So we'll see how far she can go with that. What happens after that, bringing her sister back from the dead. Sam, and I honestly thought Sam scenes were really good this week. Really good story, mini story they told there with him kind of dealing with the fact that he is special, quote unquote. He has a mental disability, and it wasn't just because he got injected with the V; it's what he had already. So yeah, and him kind of coming to terms with that, I think that was really, really good, and it could be the start of a nice little redemption story for Samuel. But Gen V continues to be peak. Peacemaker. Escape from X. Alright, Escape from X, but came with a twist though. Alright, it came from with the twist. It was cool to see the double vigilante, the double Adrians teaming up as expected. However, I was so sad I can't believe I'm saying this, I was so sad when Augie died. Alright, because he wasn't a racist, he wasn't a Nazi like he is in the normal continuum. In this universe, he was actually he was a solid father. He forgave Chris for killing their world's Chris. He understood him. He was a good father. And then Vig killed him. It was brutal. John Cena, though, another wrestler. It was a great week for acting for wrestlers. All right, Cena killed it in this. And yeah, we'll see what happens next. He turns himself into Flag, gets arrested, and yeah, we'll see what the rest of the group does. You gotta give them kudos to stay in August, so we'll see. But yeah, Peacemaker still cooking. The gun is still very much so loaded. Music this week, Chase Atlantic. Of course, Taylor Swift dropped. I didn't listen to it, but I've heard some mixed reviews. Some say they're obsessed with it. Some say they didn't like it. All right, but T-Sizzle did drop. All right, but other than Taylor, Chase Atlantic dropped the deluxe for Lost in Heaven, had War Cry and Victory Lap. Victory Lap was my favorite of the two. Had a nice little feature on that too. But yeah, honestly, I'd have been down if they'd have dropped a completely new album. But I digress. Chase Atlantic, this is what it was building to, all those singles. Solid stuff. All right, I'm not going to say it's their best work, but some solid stuff. And Lost in Heaven as a whole is an amazing album. So go check that out. Staying with my R&B crooners, Karri. I got the cosign from Jersey this week. Also dropped the single Go with Kehlani. It was very good, as you would expect. I've talked about Karri here before. One of my top young and up-and-coming artists. He's next up. All right, he's coming up sooner than later. He's under OVO. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Karri, the goods. Staying, all right, for a third straight artist with my R&B crooners, Leon Thomas. I dropped the single Just How You Are. Leon cannot miss. He has the Midas touch, so no surprise that it was very, very good. And gets the cosign from your boy. All right, more good stuff. I love Leon, one of my favorite artists. Keep it cooking. Let's talk about baseball. MLB playoffs are going on. ALDS, NLDS, Divisional Series, kicked off this week. Game 1, Milwaukee, Chicago. Chicago waving, a little wave of momentum here against Milwaukee. But Milwaukee had to, say, listen, had a good wild card round, but this is a different gravy. All right, 9-3, they make a statement. In the first inning of this game, 6 runs to put this pretty much to bed. All right, off of the rip. Off the rip. They crushed Boyd. He didn't make it out the first. They crushed Soroka. He made it maybe 2 innings. And that was that. All right, that was that. The Brewers made a statement here in Game 1 of the NLDS. Jackson Chourio is the superstar he was supposed to be. 3 for 3 RBIs in this game. It's crazy how much he developed. He's kind of going under the radar because he plays for the Brewers. But yeah, Chourio, one of the great young stars in this league. And the Brewers are off and running. Also in the NLDS, we got the Dodgers and the Phillies. I was very excited about this because this is an LCS rematch. And Ohtani was on the bump, and Ohtani was doing Ohtani things. 9 Ks in 6 innings for him. Did give up the 3 runs, but the Dodgers gave him more than enough run support, especially with Tio Oscar Hernandez hitting that home run to give the Dodgers the lead in the 7th, and that was all she wrote. The Dodgers are still the Dodgers. I know they haven't been dominant. I know they're not the number 1 seed, but they are absolutely, undisputedly the championship favorites for a reason. That team is loaded. Do not forget. And with Roki back, and the way he's cooking in the bullpen, championship favorites. Don't get it messed up. All right, do not get it messed up. Toronto took Game 1 against New York, but that game is going on right now, so I will decline to comment. But Toronto beat the brakes off the Yankees. However, we will see. All right, this is going to be a very important game too. We'll see. You'll know who won by then. Seattle did not get it done versus Detroit. And Detroit, said, hey, a lot of hype around Seattle, Cal Raleigh, Julio Rodriguez, the way they closed the year. But, we were this good for a reason. All right, Tariq Skubal is still running around terrorizing teams. So the Tigers need to be treated as a threat, and I hope they are here in the ALDS. And yeah, Game 2 is tonight. You'll know who won by the time you're watching this. But that was the MLB. Let's talk about the first half of the National Football League slate. Starting off on Thursday. Honestly, the Rams riding a wave of momentum here. This should have been a layup. However, Mac Jones, despite getting honestly likely concussed considering he was throwing up and dizzy and getting up slowly throughout this game, it did not matter. He played like Tom Brady for some reason. All right, Mac did not get the memo. 342 and 2 touchdowns for Mac Jones in this game. He was honestly incredible. All right, it was one of the great performances of Mac Jones' career, which I can't believe I'm saying, but it's the truth, all right? And the 49ers get it done here. In overtime, they stuff Kyren Williams, who had a great day, by the way. All right, 30-plus fantasy points for you, likely, if you have him on your team, or unfortunately, you had to play him. But he did have that costly fumble, and not his fault, but he gets stuffed here to end the game. So, up and down, but he did have the 2 receiving touchdowns. Crazy day for running backs. Because he wasn't the only one. CMC, also notorious, great receiver as a running back, had 8 receptions, 82 yards, and a touchdown. We're not talking about what he did rushing. We're talking about what he did receiving. That's what the type of game CMC had. He wasn't even the leading receiver, however, for San Fran, because Kendrick Bourne was on one. 10 receptions and 142 for Bourne. And that's not enough because this game was so overloaded with storylines because Matt Stafford continues to be a very underrated, maybe MVP candidate. 389 and 3 touchdowns for Matt. But also, Puka is on pace to rip apart the receiving yardage record and maybe the reception record at this rate. 10 receptions, 85 yards, and a touchdown for Puka. But it wasn't enough. All right, the 49ers get it done in OT with the big stuff. And Mac, what a game. All right, what a game. Let's go overseas. London town. We're in Britain for the 40th game in London in NFL history for the Vikings and the Browns. And the Browns found yet a way, as they have done so many times, to spoil a great quarterback debut and also take defeat from the jaws of victory. As they let the Vikings drive down the field, a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful drive, if I say so myself. And Carson Wentz delivers the strike to Jordan Addison. That wins the game here for the Vikings. Wentz finishes with 236 and a touchdown. However, Jettas, despite Addison getting it done, Jettas might be cured. He's wide receiver 1. I know, Chase, Puka. This is wide receiver 1. Okay? This is wide receiver 1. He's quarterback proof. 7 receptions and 123 yards for Jettas in this game. He is the best receiver in the world, and he might just be the best player in the world. Honestly, I think we need to put him in those type of conversations. DG, solid debut. Wasn't perfect, but it was solid. 2 touchdowns, thread the needle a couple times, one bad. All right, no, I'm not going to thrash DG for this debut. It wasn't. This game wasn't on him. Judkins played well though. All right, he was the best Browns rookie, 110 yards. They should have had him more. Honestly, should have had him more. Might have won this game, but the Vikes do get it done in London town. Baltimore is in trouble, bro. They are in trouble. They are in so much trouble. They had C.J. Stroud looking like rookie year C.J. Stroud. 23 for 27, 244 yards, and 4 touchdowns as the Texans beat the brakes off of the Baltimore Ravens here. 44-10. This was a snuff film. A snuff film. The Ravens are cooked. It's official. They are cooked. They have Cooper Rush. I have no idea why he has a job. This is the worst backup quarterback in the league. I don't know why they got rid of Huntley for whatever reason, but this is the worst backup quarterback in the NFL. 3 interceptions for Rush in this game. It was awful. It was absolutely awful. The Ravens are cooked. It's over. It is over. Unless Lamar magically gets healthy again, it is over. It is over. The season is done. Wrap it up. The Ravens are cooked. What a failure of a season for Baltimore. How disappointing. All right. How disappointing. The Saints and the Giants. All right. The Saints get it done here 26-14 after the Giants looked like they had this in the bag. But, you got the good Jackson in this game and you got the good Jackson last week, but you got the bad Jackson Dart this game. He had 3 turnovers, very costly. Scatabo with that fumble at the end. That was just a ruiner. All right. Jackson can drop the first one, but then Scat cannot fumble with you driving yet again in your own end, looking to take the lead. You cannot have that happen again. So, yeah, as much as we bragged about the Giants rookie class, they let them down in this game, and the Saints get it done. Indy absolutely butchered the Raiders. I'm not going to get into it, but Jonathan Taylor, MVP, conversations. Already had a hat trick in this game. He's also, I don't know if he's still the leading rusher in the league, but he was going into this week. I went to this game, Carolina and Miami. It ended up being a banger. All right. It was level comp. All right. It was a comp matchup. So worked out. Carolina gets it done though. Bryce Young when it mattered. He started this game off ugly. People were chanting for Andy Dalton. I wasn't unconvinced. All right. People were texting me, shout out to Allen, to go in and take the field instead of Bryce Young. But he did lead the drive down the field, finds Mitchell Evans to take the lead and win this game. So credit where credit's due. All right, however, this was the Rico Dowd game. All right, it wasn't about Bryce, wasn't about T-Mac, wasn't about Leggett, even though he had a great game. It was Rico Dowd. All right, 206 yards and a touchdown. He ran wild on the Dolphins. It was a little bit egregious. All right, Rico Dowd is a good player, but y'all had him looking like he was Emmitt Smith out there. It was a little bit revolting if you were a Miami fan. However, Tua played a solid game. 256, 3 touchdowns. Waddle had 6 receptions, 110 and a touchdown. However, like I said, y'all could not stop the run to save your life. And Bryce did enough, all right, here to preserve himself for another week, and Carolina found a way to win. So, all right, shout out to the Panthers, shout out to the 704. Got to see Wilson in person. How about them Cowboys? Hey, how about them Cowboys? All right, we take care of the Jets here, 37-22. The offense is still great. 237 and 4 touchdowns from Dak. Jake Ferguson blessing my fantasy team. Perk scoring again. Javonte Williams looks like he is a very good running back. No complaints. All right, no complaints. James Houston is looking like a solid, maybe market replacement. 1.5 sacks for him in this game. Couple of those this year. So, not too bad. All right, not too bad. Fields didn't look bad in this game either, just for you Jets fans, to give a little bit of solace. He had 283 and 2 touchdowns. I still think he could be the guy. Brees Hall went over 100 yards, but, all right, you couldn't stop us. All right, you couldn't stop us to save your life, and you got butchered offensively, or at least defensively, should I say, for y'all. And the Cowboys get it done here, 37-22. Oh boy, Philadelphia. Y'all are sick. I was talking with my favorite Eagles fan, is what I will refer to her as. And I texted her. I said, why don't y'all just win a game normally? Why don't y'all just blow out an opponent? Why do y'all always have to stick around and play these super stressful one-score games when you could just win the game? Just win the game. Y'all have this loaded team. You get all these opportunities, but y'all love to play down to people. I think the Eagles are masochist. And eventually the masochism, eventually keeping touching to stove, poking the bear. Eventually the Bear's going to fight back, or the Broncos going to buck back, should I say? Because the Broncos stunned the Eagles here, 21-17 on the road, and get it done. A fourth quarter comeback. They score. What's that? 11 points here unanswered to get this thing done here in the fourth quarter. And yeah. Actually, it was more than that. It was 7, 15, 18 18 unanswered. Can't have that happen. You can't have that happen. Unanswered, can't have that happen. But yeah, Eagles just, it's weird. Against great teams, they show up, they show out. They stoop to the level of whoever they're playing, and eventually that's going to run out and it's going to make you pay, and they paid here. All right, a game that they should have won. They had Bo Nix contained for the majority of this game, but let it go at the end. All right, let it go at the end. They could not close, and they paid for it. Nick Bonito had a day. He had 2.5 sacks. He was all over Hurts, and gave him some issues, especially on that last drive. Almost got it done at the end there, but the Hail Mary came incomplete. Devontae did have a good game, though. 8 receptions, 114. A.J. Brown got a catch in the first quarter, so some progress there. But the Eagles, like I said, you gotta get rid of the masochism. All right, you're not gonna again. Maybe it'll work out for them. It worked out for them last year, but I think they were more dominant last year. And this time, we're just too many close games. All right, too many close games. You got a team. You got to go for the kill. All right, go for the kill. You let good teams stick around. Eventually, they'll beat you. The Broncos beat them today. All right, let's talk about this afternoon window. The 4 o'clocks delivered. All right, I will say this week that the 4 o'clocks definitely did deliver in the NFL. So let's talk about them, shall we? Let's talk about them. All right, Tampa Bay and Seattle had a bunch of it was Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, of course, tied together to do their draft class and then their journeys after, where they had to bounce around to team before eventually finally breaking out and becoming the quarterbacks that a lot of us thought they would be becoming, or could become out of the draft, or, a little bit even post-rookie year I will say out of the draft. All right? The rookie years were kind of rough too. But, all right, nonetheless, we had that. And then, of course, 2 of the great Ohio State, receiving tree, Emeka Egbuka, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Pretty much everybody has him booked for that. And, of course, a man who's become one of the best receivers in the league, as expected, in JSN. So, how would they do? All right, and we got a great game out of this. We got a tremendous, maybe even the best game of the week out of this as a neutral viewer. Probably very stressful if you're a Seahawks or Bucks fan. But Tampa Bay goes into Seattle and makes a statement, says that we're for real. We are for real. They were my dark horse. And they might be more than a dark horse at this point, as they do get the win here, 38-35. Chase McLaughlin, after Levante David picks off a tipped Sam Darnold pass. Bucks get it back, get in field goal position, 39-yarder. Chase McLaughlin is money in the bank, and they walk it off. Baker, he's on different timing. All right, he is on different timing this year. 29 for 33, 379 and 3 touchdowns. We might be watching peak Baker. Simply put, all right? Emeka Egbuka. He's one of them ones. Simply put, one of them ones. 7 receptions, 163 and a touchdown. 5 games into his career, he's scored in every single one of them. Offensive Rookie of the Year, no debate, and quickly emerging as one of the best receivers in the world. All right? Simply put, in the world. Sam Darnold wasn't too bad either. 28 for 34, 341, 4 touchdowns. Did have that 1 interception. JSN went off, 8 receptions, 132 and a touchdown. So everybody represented. All right, everybody ate in this game. And like I said, it was a great back and forth battle. If you have to catch the highlights from one game this week, I would say watch this one. All right, outside of your favorite team, if they won, go watch this one because again, like I said, it was a great battle between Sam and Baker, and then Emeka and JSN cooking for the OSU boys. So yeah, great game. Tampa Bay though. They're a dangerous team, man. They are a dangerous team. Ladies and gentlemen, the Tennessee Titans are on the board because the Arizona Cardinals did everything they could to lose this game. It was honestly a little bit remarkable. They were up 21-3 in the second quarter, and it looked like, yeah, business as usual. Cardinals about to blow them out. Bell taps. No surprise. And then the Titans scored, and they got a field goal, and then they just kept scoring. And even once this game got close, it was like, there's no way the Cardinals are actually going to blow this. And no, the Cardinals were actually going to blow this. multiple disasters here. They pick off Cam Ward, right? Pick him off. Game should be set in stone. Fumble on the interception. Falls into the end zone. Tyler Lockett picks it up. Touchdown. Puts them in reach. Also, that happened in this game. We had yet another, and I don't know how this keeps happening, with players fumbling at the 1-yard line. D. Mercado breaks the 76-yarder, then drops the ball. Drops the ball before he enters the end zone. So, lost it there. So many opportunities. All right, the Cardinals, it was remarkable how much they actively, it felt like, tried to lose this game, and they succeeded. All right, they succeeded. Congrats to Cam Ward. Congrats to the Titans. They are on the board for this season. Cardinals, you are a poverty franchise for a reason. Washington handled Los Angeles this week. The Chargers, that is, not the Rams. But I guess both of them lost. But yeah, the Commanders handled business. I was worried about JD 5's knee. It held in check. All right, it held in check for now. But yeah, the Chargers just look lost right now. Okay, they look like the Chargers we've grown to know over the past few years of had their high moments, and now it's time for those down moments. And yeah, they're just coming full force right now. That was a pitiful performance from Justin Herbert in front of Madison Beer. I honestly couldn't look at myself in the mirror if I dropped 10 points in front of Madison Beer. So yeah, horrible day for the Chargers. Commanders get the W, a much needed one, might I add. Detroit. All right, Detroit and Cincinnati was exciting. Entertaining, scoring fest. Goff had 256 and a hat trick. Jake Browning had 3 touchdowns, but of course he threw 3 interceptions. All right, he's not as bad as Cooper Rush. That's the very minimum you can say. Hey, Bengals, you can hold that over the Ravens. Your backup quarterback is an absolute turnover machine, but he's not as bad as Cooper Rush. You can hold on to that. All right. Trey Hendrickson had 2 sacks. Chase had 6, 110, and 2 touchdowns. All right. Jamar heard what I said about Jettas being wide receiver 1 and quarterback proof and said, "Let me pop out real quick and remind you who I am." So he definitely did that. ARSB, Amon Ra had 8 receptions and 100. He's putting up, another top 5 wide receiver year. And yeah. Lions took care of business. Bengals tried to make a run at the end, though. Chase came alive. Browning finally figured out how to play football and quarterback. So they made it look better than it was, but the Lions don't make a mistake. Don't think about it too hard. They were in control of this, and they get it done. Now, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the Roundup. All right? Let's talk F1 racing. Singapore. All right? The Singaporean Grand Prix. One of the most visually stunning because it's a night race. All right? One of the most visually stunning Grand Prix we have on the calendar. And it's George Russell who wins the pole and is able to convert it after a great start off the line. And then that was pretty much wraps, to be honest with you. And George does get the W. It was a great week for Mercedes. Kimi finishes 5th. Quali 4th. Yeah, they were great. They had a dominant car all weekend. It was spectacular. McLaren continues to look like they've taken a step back. We had some more feuding here with Oscar feeling a type of way about the treatment Lando was getting. Lando does get 3rd. He does get the podium here. But McLaren does win the Constructors, so they do wrap that up. A very weird week, though, for McLaren. Just because no win. You do get the podium, but then Lando and Oscar feel a type of way, and it's a weird one. All right, it's weird right now. The vibes are off of McLaren. Max does get 2nd. He continues his absolutely torrid run in the second half of this season. And yeah, Singapore, that was that. All right, it was a horrible week for Williams, by the way. That was rough. All right, that was a rough quali. Redeemed a little bit of it in the race, but nothing too crazy. But yeah, that was Singapore. NASCAR, the Roval, had its own set of drama. SVG wins yet another road course, but of course, all eyes were on the playoff cut line. All right, Tyler Reddick got pole, but of course, SVG, Kyle Larson, and Christopher Bell running around, so that was never going to be converted. So it came down to Joey Logano and Ross Chastain. And Ross was on top by 1 singular point. All right, and we came down to the end here. Pit, strategy, back and forth. Logano's mad because he had a pit, yada, yada, yada. It was chaos. Then Denny Hamlin passes Ross. And Ross Chastain has to live up to his reputation as a wild man. And as it's coming down, he's trying to get the point back, desperately trying to make it to the next round. He turns Denny, takes him out. So they're both backwards. So he's trying to move backwards. Not that it matters because there's cars passing him. But in a beautiful fate of irony, Joey Logano passes him, so he wouldn't have got it anyway. He crosses backwards. But yeah, Ross Chastain, more theatrics. Denny felt like a little bit of karma. Not too much though. But yeah, kind of some cool irony that if he had just let Bubba win, or at least not taken out Bubba last week, Bubba wins that race, he advances. Denny already advanced. So, yeah, Denny messed up there. All right, rough couple weeks for him. But SVG is still the best in the world at road courses. No doubt about it. WNBA Finals. My prediction is not looking too great for the Phoenix Mercury. The Las Vegas Aces are looking like they're headed towards another championship here after game 2. They handled them like it was light work. 91-78. Jackie Young. All right. Jackie had 20. All right, 20 in the third quarter, most ever in a WNBA Finals quarter. She finishes with 32-8. The MVP, Asia 4 times, had 28 and 14. Chelsea was 2 rebounds away from a triple-double. It simply feels like the Aces have been here before. That core has been here before. They've won at the highest levels multiple times. Becky Hammon is an all-time great coach. All right, the Aces are showing up when it matters, as they did this season. I had a horrible start, then went on a rampage in the back half of the season, made it to the finals, and now they are just taking over. All right, they have taken over here. Mercury look like they're searching for something, and they can't find it right now. All right, they cannot find it. It's missing. It is hidden from them. Okay, the shooting stroke is gone. That grit, that confidence, that arrogance that they've been playing with the entire playoffs, it's gone. It's evaporated. They don't got it right now. So it's not looking good. It looks like we could be talking about the Aces as champions next time on episode 271. And speaking of episode 271, as I bring episode 270 to a close, Champions League will be back for that next week. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed. I am going to rest. It's been a packed weekend. I've been traveling a lot, going back home, then coming back, then going to the game. So the boy's going to take a break. All right, he's going to take a break, even though I have work, of course, like a lot of us adults here in the morning. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Ocho signing off.